Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast on a football Friday. This episode of PHNX Cardinals brought to you by our friends at OG's Flavoring Fridays. The official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays is OG's, not just your average cannabis-infused gummy. They absolutely, positively knock it out of the park, just like your number one Arizona Cardinal podcast. Check them out, ogbrands.com. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack. Damon Dog behind the mic. Plenty to talk about. Jerod Mayo in New England. How does that help the Cardinals potentially land Marvin Harrison Jr.? But we wanted to table that discussion at least temporarily because lots been asked about what are the Cardinals going to do? What are they going to subtract from the roster? And I think right now we need to have an open discussion as it relates to who we think could be going and what positions could be coming back come the start of free agency.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like I've immersed myself with this week as I've been sitting around twiddling my thumbs, haven't been at the facility, getting the Jonathan Gannon press conference, watching practice or anything like so. I had to do something to pass the time. So I was taking a look at who's going to be obviously an impending free agent, who's on the roster, and then where you feel comfortable on the roster at those certain positions and where you need upgrades. And, there's a ton of work to be done. That's something that doesn't need to be said. If you've been following along this podcast, you knew that even before the final whistle blew in the regular season. But, I think that there's some easy bring back guys. I think there's some easy cut guys, and then there's build around guys for sure. And then there's the guys that you're going to bring in and that you're going to target in trades and free agency and in the draft.
Yeah, I think you continue to look at who's a Steve Keim guy. And if they were a Steve Keim guy, are they expensive? Do they make sense in terms of where they're at in the rebuild with Monti Ossenfort and company? Yeah. Right? What are you smiling about? What are you laughing about? I just didn't
think you were going to go that direction. I thought you were going to say, okay, are you a Steve Keim guy? Pack your bags.
Yeah. I mean, because people are saying I was too harsh on like Zaven Collins. I'm easing into this show.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you a little bit of a nugget off the top of this show, something that you might not find on the Twitter streets. I would not be surprised if they looked at Budda Baker's contract, is kind of what I'm hearing. I'm not saying that they're going to release him or he's going to be traded, but they are going to look at everybody's contract this offseason, and does it make sense for the direction that they're headed? And I feel pretty confident if Budda Baker is on this team next year, that it might be his last season in Arizona. Now, that could change, and he was a tremendous player this year for JG, and he's a stalwart, and he's an all-timer.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, like, they look at everything, does it make sense fiscally? And Ossenfort came from New England, and they're as cutthroat as they come. And they got superior production, at least for this year, from a guy making $12 million instead of $18 million next year in Budda Baker. So I don't think anything's imminent. But, like, if we're sitting here in March and something's going down and we get more cryptic tweets from Budda, like, you can point to this show and say, oh, did they ask him to take a little bit off the top? Because damn well my man's not going to do that. So just bears watching right now. It just bears watching.
You're unbelievable. We fire up the mics. We're just easing into a nice OG's Flavoring Friday, and you drop a bomb on us like that. Like, it's not, I'm not saying nothing, but you're saying a whole lot of something. You come on this show, you look like you belong to a fraternity with your backwards hat and your t-shirt on, or maybe kind of a divorced dad on the weekends look. I don't know what it is, but then you're just dropping these realities potentially for the Arizona Cardinals. It's but we've had conversations like you say on this show all the time. You're texting somebody else other than me, but sometimes you'll text me, and you've talked to me a little bit about Budda. That's interesting. Like, I mean, I see in the chat here too. It was at Bajero saying Budda Baker 64.8 Pro Football Focus grade. Can we please stop overrating him? And like, I think that Budda Baker, sometimes it's as simple as he's more than his Pro Football Focus grade.
He is.
And for sure. And he transcends what he does on the playing field or what shows up in the box score, what's graded from those nerds that we love over at PFF. And sometimes we hate when they give a poor grade. But then sometimes it's as simple as, what's the impact? What's the positional impact? And, what's the future with and without that player. And it's a very polarizing subject. I mean, we went through this all off season long when talking about Budda Baker and, the reports of a trade request, and he was unhappy and potentially wanted to go elsewhere to continue his playing career. So to kind of not even be out of the first week of the offseason, not even officially the offseason, playoffs kick off tomorrow, be talking about Budda Baker's future it's a little bit alarming.
Yeah, it's not something that I feel comfortable like putting on Twitter. It's like, this is an intimate place where we can share ideas and we can talk it out. Like, I put that on Twitter and people light Twitter to the ground. Budda Baker probably quote tweets me. It's not good for anybody because there's very much a reality he's on the team next year. But I'm not saying they're going to cut him or trade him or they're disgruntled or anything like that. He has a big number next year. Yeah. He's a huge number. You know who else had a big number? DJ Humphries. And they're going to probably have to cut him because of injury. So they're still shedding cap from the prior regime. Because I tweeted this out yesterday. They're going to have an influx of talent coming in, right? And some of that talent is going to be expensive. And they also want to put themselves in a position, folks, to be able to say, we'll take your quote unquote bad contract from X team because it fills the needs for us, right?
Yeah.
Like Gannon, we've heard Ossenfort say like the priority positions, right? You and I both know that's not safety. Now, Budda Baker translates that, but you have Jalen Thomas. So I'm just Thompson. So I'm just like, just say it out loud. If there's a corner that potentially they could trade for like a 4th or a 5th rounder, a throwaway pick, but that corner has a big cap hit, but corner is a bigger need. And you have a supplement now or a surplus you can deal from at safety. I think they'll explore that. Doesn't mean something's going to get done.
Yeah.
But what if you go into free agency and you don't love the cornerbacks available, but you have to get some? Would you rather overpay somebody that another team let go? Or can you contact a team that's where the Cardinals were last year and say, hey, you know what? That player doesn't fit your rebuild. We'll give you a 5th. We'll eat that salary for you. They're going to come here and they're going to help our young players in our secondary. I think that's kind of what they're thinking right now as it relates to building their defense in 2024, at least in the back half.
I say this with all due respect, but I'm curious if like this is a bit like trying to get a logical answer from a pyromaniac, because what you're doing is you're just lighting fires for no reason right now. You're starting fires.
I'm sharing information. If I didn't share information,
you got a Molotov cocktail and you just lobbed it into our nice little start to
I'm showing everybody right now that this is not
I do agree.
Let's throwaway Friday shows.
Yeah, let's paint this up a little bit, because what you're saying, what my co-host is saying, and he's dialed in and he put out some little nuggets out there on Twitter last night, and they're legit. It's on our Instagram, PHNX_Cardinals, about the Cardinals and what positions they'll pursue. And you already mentioned one of them, but when you say they're going to look at his deal, it's just doing your due diligence as a team builder anyway. Monti Ossenfort, I don't know if he wears corrective lenses, but he'll get his glasses out potentially, and he'll get out the paperwork or look at it on a spreadsheet and just see what it looks like and see if there's anything there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yep. You've hit the nail on the head. I'm not saying they don't like his number. I'm not saying they don't love what he brings to the table. They do. They love all that. And they want to be able to reward the guys that have come through the muck and the slum with Keim and Kingsbury and this rebuilding year. And they're going to look at this year and say, let's reward those guys with a playoff berth. But I do think that like the amount of money you have invested at 2 positions that aren't priority positions, and the fact that the cheaper guy outplayed the more productive guy, but the productive guy or the lesser productive guy is a legend. It's a very sensitive topic and not one I feel comfortable taking to Twitter right now. But they're going to look at his number. Like they're going to look at James Conner's number, but what James Conner brings to the team, you don't have that already. So you don't have somebody behind James Conner making $1 million that's just as productive, because then that would be an easy decision, right? So why we're talking about them potentially drafting like a Jonathan Brooks from Texas. So I think right now they're in a position of evaluation. I know they are. They're putting together their free agency big board as we speak right now. But I mean, that number for Budda with no takeaways or no impactful plays that you can see in a box score, like it'll be something that they look at.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's as far as the harsh realities of a rebuild continue. You don't get away from that just because you put a full season's worth of time in. Like this is a a pivotal offseason, as we teased on social media. And they are going to be strapped with ample cap space. So, I don't know if it's going to be really put them in, like, are they going to be so where they feel like they're cap strong to where they need to look to guys to free up space? Because even if they're really active, like, it's going to be tough to really take up that entire number to where, and I'm not saying you like just wear it out and spend every penny, because I don't think they will, but they'll spend a big chunk of it to improve this roster. So yeah, it's like, it's not much to do about nothing. It's not something to just say, hey, this is, but like, I mean, it's no longer like with James Conner. James Conner has been what JG says, the blueprint, right? As far as what you look from a player on and off the field. And I think Budda Baker is the same.
Yeah.
It's just when Jonathan Gannon got here, I don't think JG holds this against him. Budda Baker was asking for a trade. And
again,
you can't put that cat back in the bag as much as you want to. And like, I don't hold him in the same regard as Patrick Peterson. Like Patrick Peterson was so detrimental in his final years to his legacy here, and nearly tarnished. Probably it'd be interesting to see if it comes back at all, but tarnished his legacy. Well, I don't think Budda Baker necessarily did that much bad, but it's still it did impact how people viewed him as this model employee, player, leader.
I think, people in the chat kind of coming at it from both angles. I respect all opinions on this. This is not me saying cut Budda Baker, trade Budda Baker. So let's put that off to the side for a second. But you also have to let these people do their jobs. And I think they probably feel like between last year and now this offseason, they've built up some credibility. Would you say that's fair? Like, they build up some credibility. He's a year older. I mean, James Conner makes $8 million, and he was over 1,000 yards and over 5 yards per carry at a career year, and he makes $8 million. Budda Baker is almost making $19 million, and Jalen Thompson unequivocally had a more productive year. Budda Baker missed a month of time, and we had a messy offseason. If I still had to wager right now, I would say he's on the team for one more year. But like,
I would as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to be on the team, because I think that they will weigh and inevitably come through the other end to say it makes us better for 2024 year. We're trying to get to the postseason, for him to be on the team and helping us, and what he does to cultivate the locker room than it is to save a buck.
Well, listen to this.
Go ahead.
Listen to this. I mean, as far as what they have invested in the secondary, and this is just basically the two safeties.
Yeah.
Because you got Starling Thomas, you got Keitrell Clark, 6th-round pick, and really nobody else. So the secondary is $38 million on the books for 2024. That's basically like Budda and Jalen Thompson right there.
Yeah. And you can do that when you're not paying anybody of note. But guess what, guys and gals? They're going to pay some corners this offseason. And they again, I was tipped off, like, they're going to look at the trade market. If somebody makes sense to inherit a contract, not a bad contract, but a contract that doesn't fit a team's timeline anymore. And a lot of people are saying Darius Slay. I think that would make sense. I don't know if Howie Roseman will trade with Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort. That's the only hard. That's easy to say. And
if there's a Georgia defender on the board, maybe on draft day, maybe he'll change his stance. JW going to bat for Budda, and as you should, like, everybody absolutely should. Budda is the heart of the defense. And I said that, and I think Johnny agrees with it. I mean,
my son has a Budda Baker jersey. I mean, this is not. This is just like information. We're presenting it. Let's discuss it. I mean,
and when you look at how the defense underperformed, or how bad it was, even with a healthy Kazir White at the time, when Budda Baker missed the game against the Giants with the hamstring, and then he went on IR for 4 weeks. Defense just was not. It was not competitive. It was probably the worst stretch of the season.
Joel, I'm not just agreeing with Joel because I agree with him, or bringing this up because I agree with him. I think it's like, you have invested a lot of money in two positions that aren't considered premium positions. You need everything in your front seven. And that kind of gets me to the other piece of my tweet yesterday. They're going to be incredibly proactive to fix their front seven and to put them in a position where, because I see a lot of this.
This is what you're putting on Twitter. You put this.
I put that they're going to prioritize front seven.
Yeah.
Smart ass. Okay, so let me contextualize it for everybody. They love this draft class, but they understand that this draft class is, like we talk about, offensive skill player heavy and offensive line heavy. And they are not going to put themselves in a position where they have to reach for a player because it fits a need. They're not going to take Jared Verse at 21 or 22 if they have Jordan Morgan as the 15th best prospect just because they need a defensive end.
Right.
They're going to draft the best player. And the best players in this draft are tackles and receivers, at least with regard to where the Cardinals are picking early. The first pick, and I can say this with full confidence, is going to be an offensive player. The first pick of the Cardinals draft is going to be an offensive player, whether or not they trade down or otherwise. They know that if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, they're going to draft him. And if he's not there, they're going to either take a tackle, take a receiver, trade down, do the same thing. So that's number one. So knowing that, and knowing that you have to go into the draft, and this is what I always give Keim credit, is he would try to fill holes in free agency so he could go BPA in the draft. He would just draft the wrong players. The Cardinals are going to do the same thing. Like the Cardinals are going to have to go into free agency and say, do we have 11 guys that we could go start with next fall? And then that way you can take the best player available at defensive line or edge rusher or corner if and when it falls to you. So they are going to prioritize, and LVL7, I agree. I think Jared Verse is better than Jordan Morgan, but you get what I was trying to say.
You were trying to play to award-winning producer Damon Dog. You just wanted him to give his U of A guy some
He's a first-round pick. Both those guys are first-round picks. Brad Spielberger told us he thinks that Jared Verse is going to make it into the 20s. All that to say, the free agency period is going to be them signing defensive linemen, edge rushers, corners, and potentially trading for cornerback help, is what I've been told.
It makes sense. Doesn't
they don't have anything.
When you look at where, the true liability was on this defense, like they had to get high level play from non-premium positions, guys who had to go in guys like Budda, guys like Jalen Thompson, guys like Kazir White, positions that they're not going to prioritize as far as spending a ton of money in high round draft picks on, but guys that JG and Nick Rollis are going to be able to coach up and really put the correct calls in for these guys to be successful, and guys that had to pick up the slack because it was just necessary. Otherwise, they couldn't hang as a defense, and that's beyond admirable. That's a tip of the cap to those guys for being just absolute grinders, dogs out there and making the plays that had to be made that weren't being made by where you needed them up front from your front seven, because it was just, especially on the defensive line, outside of Dante Stills and Roy Lopez coming in and playing above what the Texans saw from him to at that point release him. They didn't have anybody. They had, like you've said, like an XFL level defensive front, and that needs to change. And I think that they've got some easy moves they can make as far as bringing some guys back for some rotational pieces, some depth pieces. But as far as the starting caliber guys, they're going to have to be active, especially in those two spots that you reported, to have a chance to do what we think they're capable of doing with Kyler Murray and getting themselves right back in the NFC playoff picture.
They're not equipped to win games with a front seven like they have. Like they did win some games at the end of the year, and I give them immense credit for that. Their front seven is the worst in the NFL, and they know that.
I think that they benefited. But still, this isn't discounting what Nick Rollis did and what the guys who were out there and available. But I think they also took advantage of Philly and what they did on that final drive, and it turned into a field goal. And the
why did they do that?
The playing calling was that got too cute.
But explain to our audience why the Cardinals onside there.
Yeah, so I mean, they expected for them to get points and to have a point scoring drive, but they didn't want them to be able to bleed clock, right? Yeah. They shortened the field for them. They were going to recover the kick, but more likely they were just going to give the Eagles a ball in the short field, and that's big brain stuff. Like a credit to JG and Jeff Rodgers for that, because
they know their limitations. They know their limitations at D line and edge rusher. They would have limitations if guys like LJ Collier and Lecky Fotu were healthy. Like this defensive line was limited to begin the season, and it just got more and more limited as the season progressed. But I saw a question in the chat I want to get to. Ryan asking, who's the best defensive player in the draft in your opinion? Ryan, the fact that we have to ask this question because it's a great question. You're going to get 10 different answers, shows you the state of the defensive linemen and defensive ends and corners in this draft. We can tell you right now, Malik Neighbors and Olu Fashanu and Brock Bowers and Joe Alt and Rome Odunze and a bunch of quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison Jr. are top 10 locks, right? Locks. Today, every team would sign up for those guys. And then there's about 8 to 10 guys in the middle at the end of the first round. You're like, oh, yeah, I could see that. Oh, I could see him falling to pick 35. The Cardinals fucking know that. They implemented a new scouting department to watch all of these prospects. And yeah, maybe Jerod Verse is a top 10 pick last year. He ain't one this year, right? Latu from, UCLA, I like him. I wouldn't take him over Rome Odunze. So, like, knowing all of that and knowing that you have nothing invested in your front seven of note, like Kazir White is making no money. Zaven Collins has got 1 year left on his contract. BJ Ojolari is making no money. Like, that's what they're going to prioritize. And all coming back to like full circle of, okay, if we're going to have to overcompensate with our front seven that you and I have joked about needs like 4 to 8 defensive linemen.
That's not a joke, unfortunately.
We're paying 2 safeties, $30 million. That hopefully that doesn't present a problem, but it might.
But I'll say this: if you're pressing me on it, and the Arizona Cardinals need to reach for a defender in the first round, say that I don't know what the scenario is, but they have a chance, like the top defender on the board for the Arizona Cardinals in the first round. And if they're not going to take him 4th overall, I'll tell you that. But if they're in a position to select them and everything's even as far as the defenders, like I think Jerzon Newton's the most makes the most sense for the Arizona Cardinals 100%. From Illinois.
But he's not going to be available.
He's not. He's just right in that, like that's where they're either going to have to trade all the way down or trade up with the Texans pick that we're rooting for the Browns to secure it at 21st overall this weekend.
I'll make a prediction right now. It has no validity, but I'll make a prediction right now. The best defensive player that's on the board for them with the Houston pick is going to have a 2nd round grade. We got screwed by CJ Stroud. Congratulations, CJ. Please take the L this weekend. The best defensive player that makes it to pick 23, 24, 25 is going to have a 2nd round grade compared to the offensive players that are going to be available. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
We know what they're going to do.
Yeah, Cooper. Yeah. What do you think? Cooper DeJean? We got...
I saw a mock, Damon, that had them taking him after taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
I love it.
And I'm just like, well, if I get Marvin, maybe you can talk me into Cooper DeJean. Wouldn't that be a wild press conference? Co-number 1 picks, and you've got a white defensive back and Marvin Harrison Jr. sitting next to each other. It'd be like Bizarro World.
It's a dream.
Cooper DeJean is elite in the return game as well. Man, would it buck some trends? Would it buck some trends for the Cooper DeJean pick? Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner and Jerod Verse are the guy is not the Pepsi Coke, probably the Dr. Pepper Coke debate.
I'm just going to do, I think Trevor Sikkim is really good at his job.
Yeah.
So let's just go. I'm going to go to Pro Football Focus right now. And we're going to do this live, and this is not good podcasting.
Okay.
Trevor Sikkim, a friend of the program.
All week.
Yes. Huge following. He's got a mock draft right now on PFF.com. I'm going through right now. I'm 8 picks in, no defensive players, 9, no, 10, no, 11, no. The first pick at 12 to the Denver Broncos is Dallas Turner. Vegas takes Nate Wiggins from Clemson. So where's Kool-Aid? He's not even above Nate Wiggins. Jerod Verse.
Here's the spoiler alert. Kool-Aid doesn't go ahead of Cooper DeJean.
He doesn't in this mock draft. He's got Cooper DeJean going 15th to Indianapolis. So he has a nice little run of defense.
He doesn't even have Kool-Aid going ahead of his teammate at Alabama, Terrion Arnold. He's got Kool-Aid falling all the way to 21st overall.
Hey,
right in the lap of old Monti Ossenfort, mock draft Monty, taking Kool-Aid McKistry, who I've seen in the chat today. I've seen it all over my Twitter comments. Like, people love Kool-Aid, but he scares me, man.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid.
Of Keely Ringo from last year in his fall, where at this time last year, like, oh, that guy's a first rounder. And where did he end up? Where did Ringo end up? 4th round?
Yeah, he kept falling.
somewhere around there, third,
Yeah.
fourth.
Yeah. So
I like that.
all that
Dr.
to say,
Strangle.
like there's a common denominator in this draft, and it's the blue chips, right? Which, if you're not familiar with the term blue chip, it's the elite. It's the caviar, baby. It's the champagne for my campaign. The top 7 to 10 players in the draft, the elite of the elite. This is a historic draft class. Are all offensive players. The Arizona Cardinals are going to take a tackle or a wide receiver with their first pick. And they very well could take the other position that they didn't address on offense in the 20s. So what do you have to do in free agency? They have to be able to, they could not field a defense at the end of this year. What he did, Gannon and Nick Roush against Pete Carroll, you don't think the Seahawks took note of that? And they're like, God damn, you couldn't move the ball on those guys? He's got Dennis Gardeck out in coverage. They were fantastic. I trust Gannon because he did this already in Philadelphia. He said, I will fall on the sword.
Mm-hmm.
You can give me, Reed Blankenship, and let's trade for some veteran corners, and we will figure it out. And I will take the pre-existing guys that you have here, and I will elevate him. Just give me one gem. And who is that gem that they went out and spent big money for in free agency? A little edge rusher by the name of Hassan Reddick, and it changed everything. I think the Cardinals will take that same approach. Let's get some glue and popsicle sticks and some duct tape, but give me an air conditioner in Arizona. Give me something that I need to survive. Give me an edge rusher. Give me a 5 technique, a 3 technique, something like that, so that we can be competitive, so we can complement what should be a top 10 offense with Marvin and the boys next fall. So that is their strategy. And I think it's a fantastic strategy. There's no way I'm taking, I'm overdrafting defense for the sake of it just because they need everything. Go out and sign guys, 2 to 4 year deals. I will tell you just as soon as I hear any names, but I can tell you right now, they don't even know. Like there's stuff on Twitter, and everybody's out there and they're hustling, they're grinding. Bo and I were talking about a name before we went live today. I can tell you, they do not have their free agency big board complete yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on that this month. So ahead of the combine, ahead of Super Bowl week, ahead of the Senior Bowl, like they will know their free agency board, and that can always change too.
Right. And I see someone asked in the chat about free agent edges, and we got a pretty good list. Josh Allen, we'll see if he escapes Jacksonville. Will they franchise tag him? Probably a smarter move to tag Allen than Calvin Ridley, even though they invested some draft capital in the trade for him. But yeah, look at this notable defensive free agents. Brian Burns trying to get out of Charlotte. That disaster. That's by far the worst ownership in the league. Chase Young, who it seems like he's on the up and up since he got out of Washington, and Danielle Hunter from Minnesota. Like some of these guys are going to become available. Like the cornerbacks, I'm a little skeptical. Like Kendall Fuller, I think is more of an inside slot corner anyway. That's where he's actually best suited. So you've got that taken care of. You need an outside guy, and we'll see if LJ Snead or Jalen Johnson even hit the free agent market. But it's that's why trading for a corner might be the most realistic option for him. But if you're in a position, and we'll get out of this segment at least with your thoughts on it, like if a Josh Allen presented himself to free agency, like you just throw him the bag, right? You throw him probably the most outside of any quarterback deal, probably the most lucrative deal of the offseason outside of maybe Chris Jones.
I would be shocked beyond belief if the number one pick or number one high paid player in free agency is a corner. The dominoes could fall that way, and they're just like, this is a good deal, we need it, whatever. Like they need to spend their money, 8 figures, whatever, on a defensive lineman, edge rusher, or defensive tackle. And if Brian Burns is able to hit the market, if Josh Allen, you have to. It's like you court them, right? You fly Gannon and Monty to them. You have a meeting. You do the tampering period and just say, hey, we have a lot of money to play with. We want you to come, because you're not only coming to be a part of it, you're anchoring our defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Like a corner, you might be anchoring the cornerback room, but Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson are anchoring the secondary, at least for now. There's no anchor on the defensive line.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna sign a free agent linebacker. They could draft one later because your White's got that position. Owen Pompo is going to have every opportunity to continue to develop. And I re-signed Chris Barnes. I thought he did a nice job at the end of this year, just for some depth. But
well, it could be this year's free agency version of Chris Barnes, Josh Woods. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're Ossenfort, Bo, and he came to you today, and he asked you to say, who's my DN, D tackle, D end on my defense, who you name it?
Yeah, and there's tons of guys on the roster, and we can get into this as far as, who could find their way, maybe not on this roster that is currently under contract going into this offseason. But you look at the pass rushers, like B.J. Ojulari's a lock, right? Second-round pick. I think they liked what they saw from him at the end of last season. Zaven Collins, at least going, like, he's not going to have his fifth-year option picked up, but he's under contract for another season.
Yeah.
You think maybe he can make a jump in his second year playing a new position. And then like Dennis Gardeck, Victor Dumakaji. But it's like, what's Cameron Thomas's future with this team? It just never felt like, and Nick Rawlis admitted this, like early on, Cam Thomas struggled just scheme fit wise. And he did a ton of things that they had asked him to do. But still, in the final 3 weeks, I think at one point he was a healthy scratch. And that just doesn't bode well for the former third-round pick, just like the guy who went a couple picks after him that was on this roster that was cut in Majay Sanders.
Yeah, let's talk about some players that they could be moving off of. But before we do, I want to tell everybody right now, Johnny's DraftKings pick of the week. I have the confidence to say that the Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco are going to go into Houston, take the money line, and are finally going to put an end to the Cinderella story that is CJ Stroud and company. I cannot stomach it anymore. Myles Garrett, like he's done so many times this year, is going to win that game by himself, and you're going to win big with our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs. They're hooking you up at $5, just $5 on any game. New customer, and you get 200 bonus bets instantly. $5 on that game, 200 bonus bets. Download it. PHNX is the bonus code. New customers only. The crown is yours. Tons of games to bet on this weekend. I'm going to tell you right now, I like the Cowboys to win big. I think they got their mojo back. I would love to see Tampa Bay win. I do think that they're going to cover, but I'm not confident enough, Bo, to take Tampa Bay's money line. Tons of good stuff. We got that Miami, Kansas City game that's on like the Peacock Network. Wild weekend for NFL playoffs. Do it with our friends at DraftKings. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 778-778-HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after they issue. See DraftKings.com/the NFL for eligibility and restrictions. They do apply. Check them out now. Copyright the NFL 2024. All rights reserved.
I love my family. I love my wife. I love my son. But sometimes
that's good to hear.
Yeah, I sometimes I wish I was our award-winning producer Damon Dog, who is young, has the whole world in front of him, and no ties to anybody.
He's a young pup.
To have the ability on a,
I have no one.
You have nobody, and when you put it that way, it's sad.
Yeah,
it's very sad. But then
that's the way you put it.
If you were to take into account that on this super wild card weekend, you don't have to worry about what channel's bringing you the Chiefs Dolphins game, because yes, there is Four Peaks. You can say, hey boys, let's mount up. Let's get to Four Peaks, 8th Street in Tempe, and let's go have ourselves a weekend just watching endless amounts of football together and drinking copious amounts of delicious beer that's brewed on location at Four Peaks.
You know what? I might just do that.
There you go. I long for those days. I joke, I kidding all aside. I got some friends in town coming in tonight, and I'm going to take it to Four Peaks. Like, this is, if you want to get the true taste of what we have to offer as a state, beer-wise, look no further than Four Peaks. It's woven within the fabric of our great state. They've got the most drinkable beer, including their Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It's a collab between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie. Super drinkable, but then you got the Redberg Lager, you got the Wow Wheat, and then you got Kilt Lifter, their flagship. It's delicious. The Scottish ale that they have, it's fantastic. Go try for yourself. You love IPAs? They got a full selection of IPAs and, of course, barrel-aged beer that they brewed. It's so smooth. It's fantastic. Check out Four Peaks. Got to be 21 years or older. And, of course, follow them on social at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew.
Are they on the roster come 2024 with Johnny and Bo here on PHNX Cardinals? Before we get to that question, let's get to some questions and the chat. Super chat. Richard, $1.99. Thank you so much, Richard. Quickly becoming a dear friend of the program. Can we trade Cameron Thomas? If you trade Cameron Thomas, you're looking at 6th, 7th round pick max. I mean, it's really demoralizing, Bo. Cameron Thomas, Majay Sanders, 2 third-round picks in 2022 are probably going to be off the team by 2024. Next to no production after their rookie seasons, but that is the case with a regime change in the NFL.
Yeah, and Cameron Thomas is one of those guys like Zaven Collins. You hate to talk about stuff like that, have those conversations because of how much work and effort and how coachable they were, and that they, no matter how much the odds were stacked against them, that they showed up for work each and every day and tried their hardest to carve out a spot for himself. And unfortunately, due to scheme or due to the NFL just being the top league in the universe, it's hard, right? And I just don't know if there's a market right now for Cameron Thomas. Let's get to the next super chat here. Alex, $4.99. Great front seven helps the secondary so much. Our back seven had to cover a long way, longer than you have to should have to. Almost every play. Yeah, it's rush and cover, cover and rush, right? I mean, that's the name of the game. And they can complement in a really solid front seven, can elevate a pedestrian to below average secondary.
It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like Budda Baker was probably hampered by the Cardinals' lack of pass rush to make plays. But at the same time, it's like if you can get a cheaper alternative and you load up your front seven, I mean, that's what Gannon won with in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I mean, they take immense pride in being able to elevate defensive backs. That's why they started Starling Thomas and Keitrell Clark and Antonio Hamilton at the end of the year, and they made it work. You just either have special players up front, big men that can rush the passer and clog up run lanes, or you don't. And the Cardinals don't. So it's like, if that's, you can, I don't want to say you can hide poor safety play, but like I have immense confidence that Gannon could draft a mid to late round safety and turn him into a player if the pass rush was there. And that's not to diminish what Budda Baker did at all or continues to do, but just say it out loud. They have no front seven ass kickers on the defensive line.
Well, when Hassan Reddick went on a kind of a slump for Philly this year, and they weren't as stout in the interior of the defensive line. Fletcher Cox was another year older. Jordan Davis was out of shape, and they all they were really kind of getting was really solid performance from Jalen Carter. Like when they weren't elite in the rush part and being disruptive up front, guys like James Bradbury, who was at one point a cap casualty of the New York Giants, turned back into that guy instead of the guy that helped get him to the Super Bowl the previous season. Darius Slay struggled. Like those guys, without the luxury of a absolute just ferocious front seven, their game, like they were picked apart. Like the one, what was the game where Philly was sitting on a lead and James Bradbury gave up every single reception of the game-winning drive? Did you see that? Like it was tough, but sometimes that's what happens at that position when you're getting no pressure, and it's unfortunate. But like if that's why it's such a priority. That's why Johnny's got the report that the Cardinals are going to emphasize front seven players.
How dare you talk about future Cardinal? What's his name?
James Bradbury
in that manner. No,
I'm sure he would welcome reuniting with Jonathan Gannon.
It's funny, all these defensive backs that were like talking their shit last offseason about, the situation at hand in Philadelphia. And I'm sure a lot of them would be quick to jump ship, especially if they get picked apart by Baker Mayfield on Monday Night Football. Deuce $4.99. I saw Budda Baker make many saves with missed tackles from the linebackers. Of course, keep him. Leadership is a trait, just not just a skill. Focus on what we're missing, not have. 100% agree. Sure. I would pay Budda Baker, pay him what he deserves, what he's owed. Things get messy with players and their money. That's the name of the game. That's the culture. But I would hate for Budda to. I want Budda to have success, but I selfishly want it to be here. So I'm with you, Deuce. I think it would be a mistake. And I think that they're going to come to their better judgment when they go through the process of looking at their books and say, you know what, this guy, he means too much to us. And he worked his ass off. And again, like if he's in the facility all off season, he's hanging out with K1 and working out, and like they're not going to move off of him. But I mean, he's got a big cap number, so just keep it in mind. I love this super chat. Ethan, $1.99. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s favorite brewery, Four Peaks. No shot.
No doubt about it. He's not even in town yet. That's already his favorite place to visit. All right, let me ask you this. So we showed you the edge rushers who are available. Could be a Chase Young, could be a Brian Burns, could be a Josh Allen. Man, isn't that great to think about? Or some of the rookie guys, but it's a packed room. I mean, as I mentioned, with Cameron Thomas, like you have 5 guys under contract. Seems like Cameron Thomas is the odd man out, and then you've got Ojulari, who's a virtual lock, and then you've got to decide between Collins, Dennis Gardeck, and Victor Dumakaji. I got to imagine probably Dumakaji is next if they start to add, starting caliber talent to that room.
Maybe, but I would also say Dennis Gardeck played a lot this year because they didn't have an alternative. And I like Dennis, and he's a good special teamer. Victor Dumakaji makes no money.
And he's under contract one more year. Like
right.
Dennis is going into his final year. So Dumakaji is going to be going into his third of his 4-year rookie contract.
I like if basically you got the same level of production from both those guys this year. Basically, like Dennis had a front load of a bunch of sacks and he had more pressures. Dumakaji was at least a little bit more consistent. I'd have to look up the snap total of who played more, but like just say it on the surface level. One guy's cheaper for longer and the other guy makes more money and he's in a contract year. And again, people are saying I've been trying to get rid of Dennis Gardeck for half a decade, and you're right. But like I do think that, well, can you have Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck on the roster next year together? Neither of them starting, both of them making, if not starting money, pretty good money. I would say no. I would say that would probably be something that they would look away from. Do you feel like they're going to draft a defensive end at some point, Bo?
Outside linebacker, a pass rusher? Yeah.
So if they draft one,
they have to.
And if they draft one, they sign at least one, and Ojulari's back. One to two of those guys could be gone. And I think it's this. We come across as just like jerks because
you're a dick.
People. I'm a dirtbag. I'm a big time dirtbag.
Yeah.
LVL7 again. Y'all sleeping on Zaven. I was asleep all season watching him play.
Oh, come on, Johnny.
Where was the sack?
What are you doing?
Okay. He walked into that.
Do you want to look at guys on the roster who could play, who could be cap casualties, or guys that are just odd men out, or do you want to look at some free agents to be? No, go through if the Arizona Cardinals should bring him back.
Let's do the free agents first, and we'll do rapid fire.
Okay. No Marlon Mack. Okay, let's get to the wide receivers.
Marlon Mack. I think I was the last person to talk to Marlon Mack before his Achilles exploded, by the way. He and I had a one-on-one conversation in the locker room, and I'm like, man, you look great out there. He's like, I feel good, man. And then his Achilles exploded because of a terrible pass from Colt McCoy. Sorry, continue. Great guy.
You should have never told people that you were his bad luck charm, that you were his black cat. You walk right past him before you hit the playing field. And it was a throw day for Colt McCoy, and he tossed him one too far behind him.
It literally was a rainbow ball. And then Marlon Mack's trying to adjust, and his foot gets caught. Here comes the cart, and Bo and I are like this.
Yeah, it was Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Phillips-esque, where you just you saw it like reverberate through his damn leg. It was awful. Okay, so wide receivers.
That didn't look good.
No, Marquise Hollywood Brown. This one's easy. Greg Dortch is an exclusive rights free agent. I wish the Arizona Cardinals would do right by Greg Dortch and going and working out a multi-year extension. But they have the simple task of basically saying, we're bringing you back, sign him to like a $1.1 million 1-year tender, and nobody can negotiate with him. And that's unfortunate because Dortch deserves better than that. But that's the reality of it. And then there's Hollywood Brown. So I think Hollywood Brown is the debate we're having right now.
Little nugget on Hollywood Brown. Little tiny little nugget. He's gonna hit free agency. Like, feel pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a priority.
Okay.
Could come back if certain dominoes fall. they're taking a receiver in the first round. So that happens. And if they go out and they get a Donovan Peoples-Jones or somebody, like, there's just not a spot. So I think Hollywood Brown has played his last game as an Arizona Cardinal.
Jeff Swaim.
Didn't he have an injury?
He did.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay. Elijah Wilkinson, Tristan Colon.
I think Elijah Wilkinson played pretty well down the stretch. I think they liked. I would say thumbs up on both those guys.
Okay. Jesse Luketa is an exclusive rights free agent, pass rusher, fullback, special teamer. I think they at least bring him back to try to compete for a roster spot.
Yeah, he could be gone next August.
Carlos Watkins, LJ Collier, Lecky Fotu.
All gone.
I think that they would consider bringing back Collier and Watkins. And then Jonathan
LJ
Ledbetter.
Collier, I haven't seen LJ Collier since it was about 105 in Phoenix.
Well,
where's LJ Collier been? And you're bringing him back?
They tore their biceps and they've been working at the facility trying to get back. So it's not like they're dealing with a leg injury. And then also here's good news. Talk about Greg Dortch, so Jonathan Ledbetter, also an exclusive rights guy. You can bring back Ledbetter to be a depth piece.
Back. Yeah, unequivocally. Yeah.
Yeah. Linebackers, Josh Woods, Chris Barnes, Zeke Turner.
Zeke Turner, I think, is done. Chris Woods or Josh Woods?
Yeah. Special teamer, started when
it's sad. We've had him on this show. He's a super nice guy.
Fantastic.
He had a tough time when he was starting. But if he I would say 50-50. And then Chris Barnes, I would bring back Chris Barnes. I mean, is it crazy to say they played some of their best defense when he was starting the linebacker for him? If they could find a way to bring him back, that would be a smart decision. And he was great in coverage. He picked off CJ Stroud. You would rather have Chris Barnes than Josh Woods, wouldn't you?
I think obviously Woods brings a little bit more versatility. He can play teams. He's also
get a draft pick to do that.
Really good. He's good in the locker room. Antonio Hamilton, Rashard Fenton, who went down before the start of the season. He's a guy they signed last year. Never played at corner. So Antonio Hamilton.
How old is he?
Antonio Hamilton's going to be, I think, 31.
I think he'll get a camp invite. I think they'll bring him back. I mean, he played pretty well against DK Metcalf in the finale. I could see until you have an alternative or alternatives, I think he could be back for one more year.
All right. Looks
for no money.
And that's about it. Blake Gillikin is a restricted free agent. All they have to do is press a button. He's back. You bring back the punter, and there you go. That was good. That was pretty quick.
I mean, it's Hollywood Brown is what people want to know about. Everything else is window dressing. Any of those other players could be brought back, cut over the course of the summer. It's not going to make a headline. The big question is the guys who are under contract that could be going, which is what the show title is all about. Yeah, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, I want to talk about some Burrows real quick.
Okay,
because made our weekly stop at some Burrows. Wife got the number 9 full of taco dinner, bean and rice. Kids getting the quesadilla for Ninos, bean and rice as well. I got my margarita. I continue to mix it up because variety is just something that's going to keep you fresh. It's going to keep you wanting to go back. And then there's people like my wife who likes the consistency. But it's Arizona's most loved Mexican restaurant. You can find one really anywhere here in the Valley. They just added a couple of West Valley locations. You got one in Goodyear, one Peoria, and I-17 and Joe Max. Visit someburrows.com to find a location near you. It's like you're throwing a party. Maybe you're going to have some friends over, watch some playoff games. Why not get some of the easy party platters to feed a crowd? All new taco bar to impress your friends out there with margaritas to go. That's right. They do margaritas to go. They tape it up, and you're able to just throw it in your car, drive home, and then have a couple margs just hanging out on the back patio. It's cold outside, maybe inside, but you're having a margarita. It's unbelievable. Check out what's going on at Some Burrows. They got something for everyone. It's delicious. It's Arizona's most loved Mexican restaurant. Check them out, someburrows.com.
Everybody liked this video. We're getting to 300 likes here on an OG's Flavoring Football Fridays. Be smart. Be smart with your money with Desert Financial Credit Union. I was smart with my money. The limited funds that I have, I took it to Desert Financial Credit Union, and they're hooking me up, baby. They got checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit card, investment options, and more. And guess what? The official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals. We need to get Desert Financial Credit Union to sponsor free agency here because Monti Ossenfort, he's going to bust out the credit card this offseason. Am I right? If you're an Arizona sports fan, no better place than to do your banking with Desert Financial Credit Union. Represent the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. I've got it right here in my wallet. None of you little creeps are going to get to see it. Steal my PIN information. How dare you? Show your team spirit, though. Get your own. It's super easy. Get a free checking account online. Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card, desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started. Takes a matter of minutes to open up a checking account. That sweet, sweet Visa debit's going to be in the mail to you just a couple days after the fact. Check them out now, desertfinancial.com.
What is it? Is Dennis Gardeck's number 42?
45.
45? I think your pen number is 4545.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's take a look, and then we got some other things about the Super Wild Card Weekend. I want to get your thoughts on some of the games. I'll get some Damon's thoughts on some of the games. The one in Buffalo is shaping up to be just an absolute disaster. Have you seen some of the pictures from the field? It's just under snow.
Buffalo or Kansas City? Isn't
it? I thought it was rough buff. Maybe it is Kansas City where they're calling for people to come and plow the field.
I saw like Game Time had our friends at Game Time had tickets to the Chiefs game. It was like $6. Not $6, it was like $25 because it was like one of the coldest games of all time.
Yeah. It's brutal. And what's going on in New England too, and how it impacts the Arizona Cardinals in the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at some of the players that are under contract going into, and we'll do rapid fire with this, Johnny. Quarterback room, Kyler Murray. No questions asked. I mean, Kyler's coming back. He's franchise quarterback. Clayton Tune's the only other quarterback on this roster.
Clayton Tune will be back.
James Conner, Michael Carter, Amari DeMercado, and Tony Jones Jr. on a futures contract. Those are your running backs.
I think it stays the same until after the draft.
Wide receivers, you've got Michael Wilson, Rondell Moore, and Zach Pascal under contract.
Rondell Moore, I think, is going to be on the team until the draft, and then I think around the draft, he could potentially be moved.
You think
or after the draft?
You think they move off of Pascal? You think he's in the second year of his 2-year contract?
I think they love him. That was a signee by Ossenfort. They love him in the locker room. He was a key cog in their run game. He was on the field. I think he played more snaps than Rondell Moore this year, probably on average. When he played, he probably played more than Rondell Moore.
And until they find a better wide receiver blocker like Zach Pascal, Michael Wilson's their second best, but nobody does it right now better than Zach Pascal. Andre Bocellia, Daniel Arias, Caden Davis, and Jeff Smith are all on futures contracts. Arias, I think, is somebody to kind of follow along with just because of his size and the opportunity. Tight ends, Trey McBride, Elijah Higgins, Travis Vokalek, who they added, 6'7" tight end from the Baltimore Ravens, got in there. Made some nice blocks. Blake Whiteheart, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Wake Forest. And then Psycho, Bernard Psychovitz, he was added to a futures contract.
Real quick, the tight end room, the top 2 guys are established, and then everybody's a fringe guy after the fact, but I do want to address Clayton Tune real fast because everybody's saying, get rid of Clayton Tune, not impressed with Tune. Tune can go. I think, like, if Jacoby Brissett's available this offseason and he's cheap, I think the Cardinals are going to have a conversation about Jacoby Brissett because if Kyler Murray were to go down, they would want somebody not named Clayton Tune to take that baton. And I also think, Jacoby Brissett on those QB sneaks, you feel more comfortable with somebody like that compared to Clayton Tune. So I think they'd like another veteran quarterback in the QB room. I don't want to say Tune won't be on the team, but it just really feels like that was a flyer that they took last year. Maybe he sticks around, but I think somebody LVL7 saying draft a QB. I almost feel like maybe next year you can do that, but this year you got to load up on the rest of this roster. Jacoby Brissett's not going to cost you any money, and we know that they were interested last offseason. Same with Joshua Dobbs. So if Kyler Murray has to miss a start or 2, you cannot turn this over to Clayton Tune.
Deuce saying that MHJ's favorite podcast is PHNX Cardinals. I didn't know that. That's a nice little fun fact that Marvin Harrison Jr. tuning in. Probably loves hearing his name a lot. This one's an exciting group, the offensive line.
Yeah.
Paris Johnson Jr., Will Hernandez, Yelda Froholt, Calvin Beachum, John Gaines coming off a knee injury. Dennis Daly's under contract, and you got a couple futures guys in Marquise Hayes, Jackson Barton, and Austin Pleasance, with DJ Humphries still on the roster, but likely out for the bulk, if not all, of next season.
Yeah, I think the starters are solidified. Kelvin Beacham's probably going to run with the ones this offseason. That's going to be short-lived. The hardest part with that group is, like, do you sign a Band-Aid free agent tackle that can play guard, or what goes on? Because it's like, it's a good problem to have, because if you don't get a tackle, you're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr., presumably. But if you get Marvin, somebody's got to play left tackle next year. So I think DJ Humphries has played his last snap as an Arizona Cardinal. I think he's gone.
It's unfortunate. It really is. It's a brutal way to go out. You never wish for that after having such a strong career as an Arizona Cardinal and overcoming his basically redshirt rookie season where he didn't play at all. And then, he's working in right tackle, left tackle, becomes their left tackle for so long, holds it down, and works his way into not one, but two extensions. And now, unfortunately, he's going to become a cap casualty. And it's the tough part of the NFL. Pass rushers, we talked about this one already. Ojulari, Collins, Gardak, Dumakeji, Cameron Thomas, and Tyreek Smith, who they added, former Ohio State product. He's under contract going forward. Anything stand out to you as far as that group?
I just think, okay, so hang on. Bad podcasting strikes again. I'm going to overthecap.com, and you tell me if you can stomach this number, okay? This is what it's all going to be out. Does it pass the smell test? Does it pass the Tums test? If you've got indigestion, you're going to pay Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck about $8 million combined next year. Are you okay with that?
I'm all right with that.
Okay. Dennis Gardeck's making $3.466 million. Zaven Collins, they're right next to each other, $4.6 million. If they were both designated as post-June 1st cuts, for instance, doesn't save you very much with...
I think until you find somebody that's better, you hold on to them.
I think Zaven Collins is on the team next year for sure. I think Dennis Gardeck, you can save about $2.5 million, but he's a great guy. I mean, like, he's the epitome of, like, culture guy. So if you can do a culture guy special teamer at $3.5 million, that's fine.
Sports hero. Johnny, did you have a bad experience with Gardeck in the past?
I want better players. Like, it comes from a good place.
Yeah. Hey, better players.
How many sacks
let's talk about some of these defensive line guys under contract. Dante Stills, solid rookie season, ended on IR. Roy Lopez, local kid, came home. I think played above people's expectations.
I would keep him. Yeah.
Phil Hoskins, I think he's a creative player he was just generated by a random name. Naquan Jones came over late season from the Tennessee Titans.
You see these people face to face in the locker room. You're that motherfucker.
I saw Phil Hoskins at Flower Child, which is a delicious
you're trying
it was a to-go. I was grabbing to-go.
You'd see these players and you're like, hey man, you're just such a got such a throwaway name.
Look, listen to this. I'm in Flower Child. I'm sitting there waiting for our to-go order. I'm sitting there on the chair. Phil Hoskins comes in, and I was the only guy who knew who he was because I see him in the locker room.
Did you go up to him?
No.
Dr.
I just want to let him live.
Way more mean than Johnny. I agree with that. Listen. Here are the two players that you say could crack the should crack rotational spot if you get serious about your defensive line. Stills and Ledbetter. Those guys have warranted snaps next year. If any of those other guys that you just named, creative player or not, sniff the starting lineup, you have failed this offseason.
I think Roy Lopez can play the role of some of the guys that is a fringe roster guy, maybe an elevated practice squad guy, and that's not an indictment. I think that's a good role for him to have. Linebackers, Kazir White, Owen Papo, and then you got Tyreek Maddox-Williams, Trevor Nowaski. All we're doing is talking about Kazir White and Owen Papo here.
Both are back.
Yeah. And then your corners, Garrett Williams, Keitrell Clark, Starling Thomas, Kyler McMichael, who we didn't see, but I thought he was getting some run in training camp, Quavian White, and Darren Hall, who is both future contracts.
Say that again.
You got Garrett Williams, Keitrell Clark, Starling Thomas, Kyler McMichael, Quavian White, Darren Hall. This Garrett Williams.
Top three are back, bottom three are gone.
Okay. Garrett Williams is still he's gonna stick in the slot. like I don't envision them like, okay, next step is you play outside. I think that they think he's going to be just a beast at the nickel corner spot.
And Keitrell Clark, was he not playing very much toward the end of the year? Starling Thomas and Antonio Hamilton were playing.
Yeah.
And do you want Starling Thomas to start next year? Like, would it shock you if they had 2 new starting outside corners come week 1? Wouldn't shock me.
No.
Where are those people coming from? They're coming from free agency.
Safeties, this is a deep group. It's Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Andre Sachere, Joey Blunt, who's a special teamer, Quantrez Knight, and then a futures guy in Verone McKinley.
I would say the top 3 guys are safe.
All right. Kicker, Matt Prater, is he safe after his
build him a statue? If we get to a point where we're repping number 18 jerseys in the Valley, he is I'm being serious. He will be beloved here.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure. You talk about going into the next season with no pressure after blowing week 17 for your coach or week 18. They get Marvin Harrison Jr. because of Matt Prater. Everybody's going to love them some Matt Prater. He was fantastic this year. No issue.
Very consistent up until those final 2 drives for the offense. But that's it. That's the guys under contract. Those are the guys hitting free agency. Went through them all. And Mars is saying, give Prater $1 million bonus if we get MHJ. I agree.
Can I say
what?
something? It's going to come off wrong, and I don't mean it to. The names you just named, they ought to be able to get through all that in about a half an hour, an afternoon.
If they're not already through it.
Right. What you just presented to me, those are not difficult decisions.
Yeah. And you were saying earlier this week, you want a super team. We got a long way to go.
No. What I'm saying is, come on, that was tongue in cheek. I'm saying you need to spend and allocate 75% of your time not to what's in house, but to what's out of house. You need a new house. You need a new insulation in your house. Whatever those words are. I'm not handy at all. Richard, $4.99.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like Tommy's Matt Prater Day. Is that every January 7th do we celebrate Matt Prater Day?
That's right. It's the hero we deserve. $4.99. Good teams don't let great players go. So how do you trade for a great defensive lineman or edge rusher? I think you take advantage of bad teams, maybe, Richard. But every year D linemen hit free agency, but they might not check every box. They might be older. They might have some baggage, right? They might be undervalued by their current team, like the Cardinals did with Hassan Reddick. But like, you're nothing. It can't be, if you're Ossenfort and you're like, this has to be perfect, then that's already a losing mentality. You need to go into March knowing that we got to be uncomfortable with some of these numbers that we're going to have to kick around because for the sake of helping this team win.
Yeah. Richard following up with a $1.99 super chat. Thanks, Richard. Or cornerback on the heels of that pass.
Corners are more disposable for teams than front 7 players.
Deuce jumping in with the $5 super chat. His thoughts on what we just went through. Dump Hollywood and Rondell. Take that salary. Pay Dortch. He produces way more than those 2 clowns. He's K1's clutch blanket aside from McBride. Is that your burner?
No, it's not. I agree with that. Other than I don't think they're clowns. They're just not scheme fits. Let's remove clowns and maybe say, hey, they're just not scheme fit.
Yeah.
And I do think Greg Dortch deserves a raise. My guy Merv busting a move, $4.99. He's going heavy in the secondary. Jalen Johnson, Jeff Okudah, Darius Slay, Chidobe Awuzie, Kendall Fuller, Stevie Nelson. It's a good list. Jalen Johnson, somebody posted on Twitter, took some photos, and I can't remember who it was. Was at the game against the Bears, and Ossenfort and Jalen Johnson were
Twitter
hugging.
Users. It was like Ryan and Red Sea Vic. I think both of them tag team it. And I'm not sure where the pictures originated.
They were good pictures.
What were it was when the Cardinals played the Bears?
Yeah, he was like dapping up Jalen Johnson. How do they know each other? I don't know. If Jalen Johnson hits free agency and the Cardinals offer him the most money, he will play for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like
I'm taking the PJ, Michael Bidwell, and I'm getting the Cardinals Gatling gun t-shirt cannon, and I'm just firing money at him. Just Benjamin.
Does Michael have to go though? Can Ossenfort do that instead? Michael, can you just go and help some people in Phoenix? Don't come on the private jet.
Jalen Johnson would be probably the most sought after free agent this offseason. Outside of
Over an edge rusher.
yeah, I think like Josh Allen could maybe compete for that because of his age and what his production. But is Jacksonville going to let him hit the market? And then Chris Jones, we don't know what's going to happen with him in KC.
The problem with that, though, is you spend a lot on Jalen Johnson. It's not that you don't can't spend money elsewhere, but then you're really kind of putting yourself in a tough spot to add significant defensive line depth and talent to turn around and make that signing worth it. Because I'm not saying that Jalen Johnson would struggle here, but I do think that like you need a pass rush. You need pressure for those guys to. He played his best football when Montez Sweat got there. You got to have both, and I think you can. I think you can make. I know you can. An average secondary look really good with a dominant front seven. You can't do it. I like how many years with Patrick Peterson was awesome in Arizona, and our defense was terrible before Chandler Jones got here. Before Todd Bowles got here. There were a lot of thin defenses in 2011, 2012, 2013. I mean, it's just, I think Jalen Johnson would be a fantastic get for this franchise, but I would still need them to address multiple positions up front.
Yeah. Topic 64, Bo, what happened to Cologne on the offensive line? I think that some of the starters got healthier. Cologne, he would fill in for Elijah Wilkinson when he was on the IR and Dennis Daly was on the IR, and then Cologne outplayed Dennis Daly. But I think when Elijah Wilkinson returned, you just saw Cologne come in and he would play a couple snaps here and there. He played in the finale, but he's kind of he would work in at left guard, and he's also a backup center. So hopefully they'll bring him back as a depth piece. Corey and Lindsay jumping in with a super chat, and absolutely see it happen for yourself in person when we throw our draft party. Please film Jomny reacting to whoever drafts MHJ Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm hoping it's him reacting to the Cardinals selecting him 4th overall. When you look at the first 3 teams in the draft now, Chicago Bears 1-1 need a quarterback. Washington Commanders need a franchise quarterback. And then you got the New England Patriots who are going internal, promoting Jerod Mayo to their head coach as the successor to Bill Belichick. Can't imagine that they're going to be in Marvin Harrison Jr. Selection mode.
Jerod Mayo going to the Patriots is another domino to fall for the Cardinals eventually getting Marvin Harrison Jr. It's not the final domino, but we talked about it. We outlined it. Belichick was worst case scenario trying to put together a winning team next year. Then I would go Vrabel below that because Vrabel has won with who? Veteran quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill. Plus, you also double down on the approach that Vrabel stopped winning in Tennessee when they traded away A.J. Brown. So he knows the value of a number 1 receiver. Now you've got Jerod Mayo.
And he's an Ohio State guy.
Yeah, true. Great point. Great point.
No.
Now you have Jerod Mayo who comes in with the urgency to replace Belichick, but also the patience of Robert Kraft to know this is a guy they've developed in-house, ex-player. Robert Kraft helped him, I think, in his investment business before he got into coaching. They are lockstep. What does that tell you? There is no pressure on Jerod Mayo to turn it around next year, but you want to lay a foundation, and you do that with a young quarterback. Like I hear people that like today, it's like, can they get Jaden Daniels be the next CJ Stroud? I think you just take your opportunity. We're picking top 3. There's quarterbacks that are going to go. I mean, if Jaden doesn't go 3, he could very well go 4 in a trade back with Arizona for somebody else. If knowing that and you fall in love with them and you're Jerod Mayo and you've got a lot of pride in what you do, and I'm the next DeMeco Ryans or I'm the next, Shane Steichen, I don't want to be in a position where we're drafting top 3 again. So let's get our quarterback now. This was a big step for the Cardinals to securing their Hall of Fame level caliber receiver at number 4.
Yeah, if the Arizona Cardinals didn't have Kyler Murray coming off an injury and he wasn't on the roster last year and they're sitting 3rd overall and they're staring down a rebuild, I think that they're seriously targeting a quarterback. But, they had one of the more unique rebuilds that you've seen. Usually you don't have the quarterback in place. You usually don't bottom out with having a solid option there. The internal thing is crazy. And I was talking to Dame about this before, like has there ever really been a successful internal coaching hire? Like currently, like Todd Bowles got tabbed by Bruce Arians, and like to say that's successful, I know they're in the playoffs. I don't know if I would go that far.
That's a success. That's been a
Dennis
success.
Allen is not successful. He took over for Sean Payton. That's a dumpster fire. And like to Damon, Damon, I don't know if you want to jump on Mike and say your point. Like Jerod Mayo is an extension of Bill Belichick.
It just seems like it would make more sense to keep Bill Belichick if that's what you're trying to emulate it. Like you have him at home. He's right there.
No, but he picked the players too. Jerod Mayo is going to have a GM.
So it was a play to move Belichick out of the front
Bill
office.
did say that he was willing to relinquish his GM duties.
Regardless, it's good for the Cardinals.
Very good. Good, as the kids say.
You guys want to make some picks for this weekend, or you want to stay away from that? You don't want to put any skin in the game.
I gave some picks. I'll give some more picks, but before I do that, I'm going to tell you guys the pick for the best place to get premium gas on premium price. Circle K, baby. America's thirst stop. You thirsty? I'm thirsty. Save 25 cents per gallon in your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Enjoy Circle K products like pizza. Enjoy the pizza and the cold fountain drinks from Circle K, and be thankful you're not in Kansas City where it's negative 100. Join the Inner Circle today for free by downloading the app. Check them out, circlek.com/store locator. I got a bunch of errands to run this weekend. Flag football. My daughter's got a birthday party. I'm going to be bebopping around the entire East Valley, and I know where I'm filling up. It's with my friends at Circle K in the Inner Circle, saving money so I can reinvest my sweet, sweet bets this weekend, Bo.
You're out there. Are you coaching for the flag football?
I am. Yeah, I am coaching. I'm not going to be confused with one of the players. I am coaching.
Nobody's going to say that. Is it the season opener? No.
Opening practice with the little guys. Second and third grade. Tomorrow.
Are you going to ask them if they got fire in their gut?
I'm going to ask them if they are interested in knowing about a certain podcast that has a daily show.
Hey, you want to play? Subscribe to this podcast, right? Make mommy and daddy subscribe to this podcast.
I'm going to tell them don't watch our coverage last offseason when we were clamoring to trade DeAndre Hopkins, because it is the DeAndre Hopkins Flag Football League. So,
that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. Well,
he does. They do a good job with it.
Ask those kids if they took the bus or if they drove there, if they got fire in their gut, and then dial up the explosive. You're going to be the JG of the East Valley DeAndre Hopkins Flag Football League. I can't wait.
I'm working on my playbook tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And you know what? It's going to be elite. Sorry, Drew Petzing. There's only one elite play caller.
What's your team name? Have you guys decided on that yet?
We're the Baltimore Ravens.
Ugh.
Sweet color scheme. Shut up. Dude's saying steal the kids' Capri Suns. Thankfully, my wife is in charge of the snacks, but she has outlawed any kind of Hostess products, which is just egregious. We will be having Hostess products. That was the best part of Little League and flag football when I was younger.
Why is she outlawing them? Is she going to give them like...
She thinks they're poison. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to get kids quitting the team if my wife butts out carrot sticks and it's like, all natural stuff. People are going to... We're going to have a mutiny on our hands.
Johnny needs his powdered donuts and his Twinkies.
He needs, what he needs to do, Coach Johnny Fire in his gut Venerable, is going to Circle K, and he's going to save the day with some treats there. They got plenty of either their own Circle K products or Hostess. Get in there. Don't listen to Johnny's wife. Also, I got to tell everybody about GoPHNX.com. Become a diehard today. Get the Discord. We're going to drop some exclusive content in there. Don't want to miss out on it. Only way to get that exclusive access is the member Discord. GoPHNX.com. Get yourself some sweet free swag for the year from the PHNX locker, like Johnny's hat. You got my sweater. You got the hoodie. You got the T-shirt for the Coyotes just over my shoulder right here. There it is. And you can get that for free. PHNX locker by becoming a diehard today. Go PHNX.com. Gannonball, the Baltimore Ravenables. I like that. That's a good play.
I will give everybody score updates as they come in throughout the course of the season. No game this weekend, thankfully, but we do get to watch NFL this weekend. Are we lucky enough to have the LA Rams take an L on whenever they play Sunday.
Mervin, flag football head coach Johnny Venerable has been fired 2 consecutive seasons, 2 7 seasons. He is currently still under investigation for stealing Capri Suns.
It's not about wins and losses. It's about, I have 3 rules, and I'm going to tell the kids this tomorrow with the parents in hand. Number 1, okay, everybody plays. Number 2, everybody what? Everybody gets better. Number 3, everybody has fun. If you're not preaching those messages, you should not be coaching youth sports. I'll get off my soapbox. Now, please continue the show.
All right. Deuce asking where the Clayton Tune 15 poster is. We don't have the the Grand Canyon.
Green Cannon.
Yeah. The Neil Lomax poster. It's been replaced.
Tell us what it's been replaced by.
Yeah. Derek Monti of PHNX D-backs made his own poster and put it up in this studio.
He was given it at a family white elephant party, but yeah.
Does anybody believe that? Does anybody believe that that was made by him on his computer, and he went to the UPS store and had it printed out, and he framed himself?
Yeah. Merv saying, rule 3, kids, tweet MHJ to AZ. No doubt about it. We're starting a revolution here.
All right, are we picking these games or what?
Yeah. Dolphins, Chiefs. Who's in on the Chiefs? Who's on the Dolphins?
Are we going spread or just straight?
Just straight up.
Chiefs.
In Arrowhead, it's -2 degrees.
I don't think 2 is going to complete double-digit passes.
It's going to be a run game for sure.
And no Mostert?
He should play.
He's going to play? Okay.
No, he's
both.
He'll be ruled out right before the game. Drive Damon furious.
Oh, God.
I'm picking the upset. I'm going with the Dolphins.
All right.
I think the Dolphins have lost 10 in a row in like negative temperatures.
And they haven't won a whole lot of playoff games lately. Steelers, Bills. Got to go Bills.
Bills.
Packers, Cowboys.
Boys.
Cowboys.
I'd love to see Jordan Love and the Packers win that game, but I think you're right.
No,
Rams,
I think
Lions.
Cowboys have the best chance to knock off the 49ers. We all need to root for the Cowboys.
Rams, Lions, the Stafford Goff Bowl.
Rams.
I want to say the Detroit Lions, the Rams are going to win this game.
I think they are too. When the battle of wits, I'm giving the edge to McVay.
I hate it. There's going to be 10 teams from the NFC West in the wild card round. I hate it.
And we already got like, we're all rooting for the Browns. The Browns have to win to end to stop the bleeding on the Texans pick.
Do either of you think the Texans are winning?
They could. It's at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've got enough on defense to where they can slow down what the Browns are doing offensively, but I think that the Browns can come out and have a good plan. And still, I mean, Tank Dell's still out. So Nico Collins is playing at a high level. I think
CJ Stroud is just like the greatest of the great. And if he wins this week,
they struggled to get past the Colts in the finale to get to the playoffs. Like the Browns are far better than the Colts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm dumbfounded by how this season has gone. I'm numb to it. It's gross. It's sickening. I hate it. We should be talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and Joe Alt as 2 top 10 picks for the Cardinals. And we're not. We're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and scraps in the back half of the first round.
Eagles, Bucks.
Did you see AJ Brown scrubbed his Instagram, didn't practice?
Somebody said in the chat. Yeah. He went full social scrub.
I think
Jalen Hurts wasn't throwing for most of the week because his throwing hand middle finger's all jacked up.
If they get down in that game, I could see them quitting because Tampa Bay's playing with house money. No one cares if they win or, I mean, their fans care, but they're playing at home. I'm going to go Bucks too. I think that's what everybody's rooting for. Nobody cares. Philly, get out of here. Sirianni being fired. You talk about the ultimate curveball.
Do you think they would blow him out?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Tough. That's tough. You lose both your top coordinators and then they're like, see you later. Not resonating any longer.
Coordinator merchant.
Yes.
You know what I can't stand?
What?
The people that are he lost Shane Steichen, that's why they're bad. No, he lost both his quality coaching coordinators. That's why they're bad.
Well, where did they
played a
take the
role.
big? They didn't fall off as much offensively as they did defensively.
No, I agree with that.
They weren't losing to teams like the Cardinals because their offense was quiet.
Yeah, every national show, it's
They
about
put up
Shane
30
Steichen.
points in that game.
I know.
They didn't make a single stop the entire. They had the pick six. The Cardinals had just they never punted the entire time. And you're gonna say, well, if they had Shane Steichen,
It's a narrative, people. I mean, Gannon, he got the most important parting gift from this season from that dub.
well, we get the best gift each and every day here talking to you. We're having an audio only podcast. It's gonna drop for you Monday morning. Look for that. And as I said, become a diehard, get access to that exclusive Discord. Member Discord, we're going to get access to exclusive content. But excited about this offseason. 1 week down. Playoffs kick off tomorrow. Root for those Brownies in elite Joe Flacco. Harder than you've ever rooted for anybody outside of your Cardinals. It's going to be awesome. Thanks to everybody with the super chats today. Have a great Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, one more.
Sunday.
Richard, $1.99. I agree with Johnny. I coach youth soccer. Good luck to everybody starting youth sports this weekend. No Cardinal football this weekend. Enjoy time with your family, Bo.
Can't wait. Gonna be
breaking
awesome.
news too.
What's up?
Chris Jenkins declared for the draft.
Michigan's big boy, some beef. The defensive line, Chris Jenkins, who we may or may not have mocked to the Cardinals earlier this week. You can check out that mock draft right now here on the YouTube page. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. And, of course, wherever you listen to your podcast, leave a rating and a review. It goes a long way. Like this video. Try to get us up over what? What are we looking for? 300 likes? All right. We're also looking to get into our weekend. Everybody have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.